Welcome to my channel. As a layperson, I like to share my understanding of Scripture. Today I'm reading from 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 14 to 18, entitling it Sons and Daughters. Here we have a comparison of two groups of people. There's the believers in Yeshua and the unbelievers. Verse 14, the scripture states that the believers are not to be bound, yoked, or chained together with unbelievers, since such a partnership can never work, simply because the believers have an eternal treasure, while the unbelievers have what the scripture described as worthless. Again, it harkens back to Genesis, tree of knowledge of good and evil. That's not to be combined, the two. Or God's children are not supposed to combine the two. And verse 14, the believers are described as having righteousness, and the unbelievers living a life of lawlessness. So here we have a compare that lawlessness is those without the law, and righteousness are those with the law. The unbelievers are living their lives outside the boundaries of the Torah, while the believers follow the Torah, which are God's righteous instructions. In verse 15, there can be no harmony between what the Messiah teaches and what Belial, a demon, teaches. The believers can have no common ground with unbelievers, since the truth they follow is spiritual and not of the flesh. Of the flesh meaning that it was invented or concocted by man. Verse 16, since the believers are the temple of the living God, there can be no agreement with idols, because that would defile the believer's temple. Isaiah 65 in verse 4, it talks about those who sit among the graves. If anybody follows some of the religions today, even parts of Christianity, they call it grave sucking, retrieving information from the dead. They eat swine's flesh. They have broth of unclean meat in their pots. The defilement of God's temple by eating unclean. Verse 17, the believers are called to holiness. That is, they are set apart. They are not to be like the rest. Not to touch what is unclean. We're supposed to be coming out of the midst of the unbelievers and separating ourselves from their teachings. When does God welcome and say that they will be his sons and daughters? When they do not teach what is unclean. If you liked what you heard, share with someone, and if you don't, share with everyone. Thank you.